too washed out.
Yeah, we got to turn the camera down.
We are the light. We are live. Hello.
Hi, witches.
We're still figuring out our lights to see how washed out we look. It's very odd. I don't know. I feel like we change it every week, but I don't know how it goes back.
We do. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. We have a better webcam now. That's what really changed.
Look at that.
Mom.
Oops, sorry.
We look like White Walkers from the Game of Thrones.
Let's get some color in our faces.
Oh,
we do
man.
actually have color in our faces.
I have a nice tan. Don't wash out my tan.
I've lost my tan because it's too damn hot to sit out by the pool here in Florida.
Ooh.
Unless you're like in the pool, and then there's just no tanning happening because there's a hat on.
The relief is rough.
And it's just that's it. So
hi, Selena. Miss you.
Hello, witches. Happy whatever August 10th. And
not whatever. August
10th. I don't know what episode this is, but we're in the last month of a witch reacts. Shh. You be quiet. I was going to do this. So I just wanted to say, how's everybody feeling? Because we had a big astrological event this week with Lionsgate, and I personally don't know much about Lionsgate, so I didn't do anything, but I did look it up. So I know that it is the Earth and Sirius and something else aligning. And so it's supposed to be this portal and opportunity to set intentions for abundance. And you probably know more than I do. I'm a new witch. If you don't know this by now, I'm Kat. I'm the new witch. This is Jamie. She's the more experienced witch. Wise witch, I would say.
We're practicing about 25 years. But no,
25 years.
Honestly, these things come up like fads out of nowhere. It's like, I've been practicing a long time and nobody ever mentioned it. But what's cool about the witchcraft world today is that there are so many delivery systems in order to get us information and kind of knowledge and stuff. So yes, I do know about it now, but 10 years ago, I absolutely did not know what Lionsgate was. So I just want to say hi to Nanika. Hey.
Hey, Nanika.
I'm going to try to remember that you're NR when you come on here, but thank you so much for saying your name because I don't think I remembered that before. And it's cool, Nanika. It reminds me of like a magical name, you know? I guess maybe because it reminds me of Narnia a tiny bit. That's not an insult. It's a lovely thing. But to hear a name that's similar but so different, it's like, oh, you can't really forget that after you've heard it, you know? In my opinion. I'm Jamie, but it's spelled Jay in me, so my name doesn't sound magical, but when I spell it, I'm like, oh, look, I'm different.
And I'm Kat, short for Katrina, and I'm signing my name on the New Witch Academy Facebook page with the icon, with a little emoji of a cat. So you can differentiate
since we're both administrators.
Since we're both administrators and you can't tell who's who. So as I'm answering questions, I'm starting to put the cat on it. So if you happen to get a reply from me, hello, Karen. You have, she's on our YouTube channel, and she's been watching a lot of our videos. And I just want to say shout out to her because she's a new witch and she's learning lots of things, and she has responses to those, which is great.
Lots of comments.
So it's great to see people coming and then commenting and asking questions and saying, I really got something out of this, or I didn't know, or whatever the situation is. If it's whatever. So I've been replying because usually I leave it up to Jamie to reply to those. I'm like, listen, I'm all in.
She's doing it.
Listen,
she's got her confidence.
We are building, and I'm doing the bulk of the building the tarot course right now because Jamie
it's her project. It's her baby.
Because Jamie's building New Witch School. And so she's really trying hard to get that done. And it's like writing several books. I think a volume.
4.
Like a volume of books.
I think it's, like in the amount of information, it's 4 books. That's what I've equated it to when you look at it in pages and videos and all the things that go into it. So it is an undertaking, and I'm using the site Teachable, which changes their rules every once in a while. And then I have to kind of readdress things. And, that's why I put out a message like 30 minutes ago, and I was like, if you have just dealt with too much mundane shit this week, join us for some magical talk, because I know I need it. I was like,
we've had energy. So you know what I was thinking about, which I wanted to share with you guys, because I was wondering how everybody else is feeling this week. Is like Jamie and I had a big cry this week, I think, because we'll chat if we can't get together, we're chatting on FaceTime. We're FaceTiming each other. And like we were both Was it 2 nights ago or last night? It's like we were like
it was last night.
we were like bawling. Okay?
We both had big cries over our shit that we've been dealing
over
with.
shit,
like,
over bullshit, like past stuff that's coming
whew.
up, shadow work that's coming up, like all this delving into the tarot cards, and I'm trying to write, or I am writing. Anyway, just all these. It's just how
stuff.
it's just how weird. It's just weird how things come up. Like I watched the movie It's Complicated on Netflix, right, with Alec Baldwin and Meryl Streep, and it made me think as I was watching it about how couples who are together for a long time. I know this has been my experience, and I don't know about you guys, but you always end up going back together like once or twice, or maybe more than that, to just try one more time to see if you can work it out. Because you love each other and you have all these experiences together. And I've done that in all of my relationships. Like I've always broke up, then gone back, broke up, then gone back. And all right, I'm going to confess something here. I feel like I have to say it out loud so that I can stop the behavior.
And become accountable for it.
I become accountable. So I'm going to hold myself accountable to all of you, and I held myself up, but I'm saying it. I've been stalking my ex a little bit. I'm like, why am I doing that?
I didn't know we were getting that real, but yes.
Okay, why am I doing that? It's like, I don't want to be with him, and then I came across an old picture, and it sent me into a tailspin, you guys, because I saw this picture from this one date that was 10 years ago. And I just thought of all the things that happened. And I literally had like a visceral reaction. Like I had a physical reaction to that, to all the things that I thought of. So it's been a week. So I don't know how you guys are doing, but that's how we're kind of doing. So it's kind of been like that. So if you're feeling that way,
well, what I was thinking is I hope that you guys have somebody you can lean on to, because I don't know what I would do right now if my mom wasn't here to help me with this. We only got back together like 4 years ago, so it's not like I had her my whole life. We took like a 20-year break and both grew up.
She went out and grew up for 20 years all by herself in the world, which is pretty cool because she came back with like all kinds of stories to tell, which is just fantastic. I love that.
Except I never shut up.
This girl can listen. She can go into a room and she can talk for hours and never shut up. She's like her Uncle Mike. He never shuts up either. Pisces then.
And I always thought I was introverted.
But she has like so many stories to tell. And me, I led a rather sheltered life and sort of hid myself and stuff like that. So it's like these two opposing things. It's really funny. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with us this week. And we hope that all of you are, if you're in your feels like we've been, at least for the last 24 hours or so,
since Monday. Since Monday.
Yeah, I feel like it has something to do with the Lionsgate.
I don't know.
Because there's all this stuff. So,
Selena, I'm like you. I don't really do anything for Lionsgate, but I acknowledge it and go, okay, this is really cool. I do love like astronomy and stuff that's actually happening in the sky. And I want to say hi to Erica. Lots of shadow work this week. Yes, and I've not journaled it. Like, also that is weighing on me because I know that I have things that I need to write about, but I'm like, I'm just exhausted and I don't want to write yet. So I'm making notes in my phone and in my calendar of like things that happen. And as soon as I see that entry, it'll spark the like journaling part. I don't know how far behind are you in journaling?
I haven't journaled since May, so that's really bad. So I have a lot of, I had a lot of things that happened since May. We had big thing, we had a wedding. My grandson came. We had all this stuff that's happened in June and July, and I haven't journaled about it. But I go back and journal like big things and just try to just to jot them down. Like, okay, just
it always comes back up.
So it would be great. I used to try to do like daily journaling where you're like trying to get all those feelings out. And you know what? That becomes very heavy for me. And it's kind of, I don't want to do it because maybe I'm just not ready to deal with that shit right now.
I think I go through like ebb and flow of that where I can journal for a whole week straight and then I'll take like a 4-week break. So just let it run its course, whatever it is. I also want to say hi to Kay Hopper. Hey, we'll get started on our questions because we've run over the last couple of sessions. But
okay, so this week,
thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. Yes,
we need this in our lives too.
So this week on A Witch Reacts, who goes first? Do we know?
No.
Okay.
Want to rock, paper, scissors it? Come on. Do you know how to wait? Do you know?
I don't know.
Rock, paper. It's 1, 2, 3, and then you either do rock, paper, or scissors.
All right, I think I already gave it away.
1, 2, 3. I smash you. I go first. Okay. All right. So I thought this was interesting because it dealt with other people's energies, and that's when I broke out of my little box. That was one thing that I had to start looking at it and understanding how I navigate the world. But here's the question for you to react to, okay?
Okay.
I have a housemate, not of my choosing, and they are very religious and think I'm crazy for believing in magic. I like to do house cleansings. Like I go through my home, whatever, and it's not a she or he. There's no pronouns within this, so I'm trying to use they.
Okay.
So the person who is religious follows them around, kind of hovering. They just like stick close by while this person is trying to do a cleansing. And this is my impression, because they didn't give a lot of information, but with sage or Palo Santo or spray or something, nothing is, it's not banging bells and like loud music. It's something that's very like I was gonna say nonchalant. It's like it's not that noticeable. Okay. So the question for this person is, how can I stop them from interfering and messing up my energy when I'm cleansing?
Oh my gosh.
It's tough.
Listen, I'm trying to imagine myself in that situation with a housemate, which who wants to live with somebody? Hello. I mean,
you got like family situations, people with medical problems. I find that there's a lot of people that I talk to who actually have housemates that if they could, they would not have them.
I could I could have more money if I chose to like rent out my second bedroom because it has like a whole other side of the house, but I don't want somebody's energy in my house. So first of all, that's a challenge. And
what's your advice?
Well, the first, what I thought of, first of all, is like, can you give this person, because I think I read that post and it was like, I can't tell them to go away because then that's just going to create bad energy too. So the first thing I thought of was, can you give them something to do to help you? Like, so that they're busy, so that they have a role in it. And it doesn't have to be, if it's just, because I think she said she cleans like before she has to clean the house and stuff every night. So maybe you could give that person.
That was the shutting down the house thing.
Yeah. So is that the same one?
No.
Okay.
But it's very similar. Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I would do is, can I give that person something to do? Or otherwise, if you can't, and this person is just being like a helicopter person, then, I don't, to me anyway. Okay. So you guys, this is really hard in life. When we have to, and I'm going to use the word confront, and that's really not a good word, but when we have to set boundaries with people, that's a really difficult thing to do. But the sooner we start practicing how to set boundaries with people, the better off that we're going to be. So I feel like if you can't involve the person in what you're doing, if that is not an option, then you have to find a way to approach them to say, listen, this is my spiritual thing that I do, and I need you to give me my space to do it. And you say it in a kind and a, compassionate way, trying to just like, listen, I need my space right here. And if they won't respect that, well, after that, I mean, you could, if they're really religious, you could like throw holy water, or not holy water, but like I don't know. Now I'm going to get crazy. But anyway, I mean, first of all, my gut reaction was, can you make them get them involved? Can you give them something to do to help you?
Yeah.
So that they're out of your hair and they're feeling useful, because I'm wondering, why is this person hovering around?
Right.
Maybe they want to be involved. Maybe they're curious, or maybe even you start telling them about what you're doing. It's like, here's the reasons why I'm doing this. And you educate them, and perhaps you can bring them over to the other side. Or you can at least make them feel like it's not such a curiosity that they have to hang around and see, what is she going to do next?
Yeah, I think that it goes back to confronting other people's fears when they don't understand a practice. I want you guys to imagine yourselves in a culture that you know nothing about, and then you see people start to do practices, how wide-eyed you might be at that, like, what does that mean? What are they doing? Like, I wish I could understand that. And maybe it's not something that's necessarily negative. And I think that the person who wrote this post anonymously definitely feels like it might, it's messing up their energy. So it's negative for them because they're not able to find the peace they need to go around and cleanse their house. But I think that when we offer a little bit of education, I love your idea of involvement. I would treat the person like a young child and get them excited about something like, hey, while I do this, you want to hold a crystal? Hey, you want to spray? Even if they want to get holy water, that wouldn't offend me. Everybody's going to be different in their practice. But if they thought that they needed to bring a religious element into it and spray holy water, it's like, okay, blessed water, why not? give them a spray bottle with water in it to go behind you if they think that there's something else with that. So I guess if you can't get out of the situation, finding a way to live together in a way that feels more peaceful can happen through addressing their fears and then educating them on what you're doing and maybe possibly getting them involved, which I loved your answer.
I loved your answer always.
Yay.
So, okay.
It's a really tough situation. I would not want to be in it.
I
That would be
really
tough.
feel for people, and it's hard today because it's really expensive, and especially for young people, it's very difficult to like be on your own and live in your own space and not have roommates. So I feel for you guys who are having to go through that because that takes a lot of
Compromise.
patience, compromise, fortitude, all the things. And I just want to, I just want to let you know, because when I was young, life was hard. When I was really young, like in my 20s and stuff, life was very hard. And you know what? I always told this to my kids growing up: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and this too shall pass. And it's kind of the mantra that I had to repeat to myself when I was younger, when things were like, I can't bear this situation anymore. And so I would just, when I would get to that point where like, I just can't deal with this anymore, I would remind myself, this is temporary. And so anyway, not to minimize what anybody's going through, but yeah. Okay, next question. Okay, so this question came up as like, and I kind of rewrote it so that it would be more general and not super specific to what they wrote. But basically it was, what does it mean when mundane activities, let's say you're doing laundry, you're doing dishes, and then something sort of magical seems to happen, like say it starts raining every time you do laundry, or every time you're doing the dishes, or every time you're gardening, which would be wonderful, right? But what does it mean when that happens? Is it a sign? And if so, then what can you do to sort of acknowledge that this is what you're seeing as a magical experience? So I think the person that wrote the post seemed like they were like, every time I do this, then this happens. So it was a mundane activity, and then something sort of natural would happen, like it would rain.
Ooh, well,
or a bird, like say, every
this.
time you're outside, you go out to take your dog and you see a bluebird or something like that. So what does it mean? And then I added to that, like, what can you do with that to really make it, to incorporate it and to acknowledge it? So I'm going to let.
Oh, yes. Okay, listen, this is my life. And I love it because one of the best compliments I ever received when I was younger, and it didn't hit me then, it was such an odd comment, but as I lived through more stuff with more people and had more experiences, I was like, wow, it's actually a really big compliment. Okay. Somebody once told me when I was a teenager that being with me felt like being in a movie. And I was like, I don't know what that means, because I felt like I was very introverted, shy. Like I didn't do grand stuff. I didn't have adventures. But what I did have happen, like all the time, was these interactions with nature that I guess other people didn't have. And I didn't know that. I thought everybody just, had these happenings with like a hummingbird flying up and wanting to sit on your shoulder, or, every time you walk outside, there's like butterflies going by, or you see a bald eagle, or whatever it is that feels magical to you. So that happens to me like all the time. Everywhere I go, any state park I go to, I have these amazing encounters with, the natural world. And that is 100% my vibe. I remember being in the mountains, and we were driving up to a gorge bridge, and all of a sudden there were all these deer on the road, and I did not even think about it. I hopped out of the car and I was like, I'm petting one of those deer. And I just knew that I would be okay. My mom started freaking out. I was like, 14 or something? But I just knew that it was meant for me. I was like, this is my sign. This is the universe interacting with me. So I just got out. I started petting the deer. They all stayed there for a good minute blocking the road. We couldn't even leave. So my sister finally got out. She pet some deer. My mom got some pictures, but was still kind of furious. Like at any moment we're going to be attacked. And then the deer just moved off the road and went on their way. And I'm like, that was one of the best things. And so I get these confirmations, what I call confirmations from the universe, that you're just in the place that you're supposed to be and things are going your way. And for me, that happens with nature. Like all things nature-wise. I will walk outside and then there's a snake in my path and it doesn't run away immediately. And I'm like, I appreciate that so much. So I think that when you have a really good relationship with the universe or your spirit guides or your higher self, all of these little things start happening to you that make you happy. And that's what they want. They don't want us to be sad and burdened and struggling all the time. If they can give us lots of little signs to lighten the load and be like, God, that was amazing. I think that that's truly what it is. So number one, I would immediately thank the universe and be like, oh, the universe is speaking to me, because, it could be, I believe that like spirit guides or our loved ones can, not like go into the animals, but I think that they can help direct an animal into your path, or have something happen that's super magical, and that it's there for you. That's just your thing. And it's supposed to feel magical to make you feel more connected and find your purpose and go, this is a confirmation that like I'm doing what I love. My life is on the right track, like whatever you want to think of in that way. So that, did I answer the question?
You did.
Get on a tangent, but
okay, no,
man,
you did. So
some of my favorite things.
So I think there was an air of somewhat of an air, it seemed like to me, maybe I was reading between the lines, of like wonder and then annoyance, with like every time I do this then it rains. So let's say every time we hang out the laundry it rains. It's like, you know what, what I think about these things, just like Jamie, is like this is the universe communicating with you, spirit communicating with you, people on the other side, guys on the other side communicating with you, letting you know that they're there. And I would say acknowledge them. And then perhaps, I believe that once you start to acknowledge these things, even like sometimes I hear noises around my house, my dog will start barking, he'll like bark at the corner. I'm like, okay, if you're over there, cool, I recognize that. Thank you for being here. Because I don't know that there's not a spirit in the corner that my dog is picking up on, because there's nothing there. And he's like barking like he sees something. So I acknowledge it, thank it, because what else am I going to do? I'm not going to be fearful of it.
Fear.
I'm not going to be fearful of it. No. So I think that when you come across things like that, you have to just say thank you and realize that it is a blessing and a sign that
it's just meant for you.
It's meant for you, and there's something beyond that you can't see and you don't understand right now, but you will. But that the sign is a good sign, because it's something pleasant and beautiful and magical.
Oh, and if she has annoyance, this is really interesting. Okay, so say you go to do laundry, you do hang outside, all right, and every time it rains, that is the universe going like, hey, go to the laundry shop. And then what if you meet somebody at the laundry shop that is supposed to meant to be all the things? Like there's also these roadblocks that help guide you into something else. Like
that's a very
I can't even say how many times I've had weird shit happen that didn't feel like it was good. And then at the end of that, I was like, oh, I get it. Okay, I get that. It totally makes sense. I want to say the other day when we were swimming in the pool, whatever day that was, Monday or Tuesday, right? One of the days, there was a storm way off, and we're in Florida, so storms are like always off in the distance. But I have a little app that's like, hey, if it strikes within 5 miles, we always get out of the pool, because you can be hit by lightning. Sorry, you're gonna be hit by lightning up to 5 miles away. So we're with Tank, and Tank like loves the ball in the pool, and we're just going at it. Well, he did something he's never done before, which was super odd. And there was a storm off in the distance, but the lightning was like 13 miles away. So all of a sudden he started doing circles around us and like looking for something and acting really weird. And we were both like, all right, should we get out? Can he feel? Because before you get struck by lightning, I don't know if you guys know this, but you actually, the electricity, your hair can stand up on end, like you can feel it if you're in tune with it, or if you're high enough up, you'll get actual physical things that happen with your clothes, the static electricity, because two electric points are about to meet. So when Tank did that, I was like, I think maybe we should get out of the pool. Like, I think he knows something we don't know. I would hate to be struck by lightning in my pool. That would really suck. So we
definitely took it as a sign.
We did.
We were supposed to get out of the pool,
because
that was such.
It was a weird behavior.
The only thing Tank does is jump in the pool and chase balls, and then get out and give you the ball so you can throw it again. And
like a madman.
He's
like a madman.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He doesn't ever just swim around in the pool. He's not a leisurely swimming dog. So that's just an example of something that happened with us where we were like, ooh, sign, pay attention. What should we do? Let's go on the safe side of the road.
A lot of times it's our awareness. So part of our journey, I think, is to start becoming aware of the things that are outside of us, and that these things that are happening, that sometimes when we're so busy in our lives, we're not really paying attention. We sort of lose lose our connection with the natural world. And so that's part of the beauty of this path, I think. So.
All right, it's my turn.
Oh, it's your turn.
It is. All right. This is another one about people, man. All right. So this person has a person in their life. They did not say family, friend, coworker. They didn't say, but then every time something good happens with her, they're like naysaying, they get really negative, they do like the way that they address her, it's never a compliment, it's never like congratulations, it's always that, and even sort of trying to undercut the situation and say, oh, I bet this is going to happen, and like shove negativity into her situations when they're supposed to be very happy things that she's excited about. And so her question was, what can I do about it? Because I fear that their negativity will like leak into my situation and mess things up for me. So she's doing good, has this negative influence. How does she stop it? And she did use the word fear, which I'm always like,
Okay, so it's interesting because just in the last couple of weeks, I listened to one of James Van Praag's videos, and it was about energy vampires and how that we can have energy vampires in our lives and how we need to get rid of those. And that's what this person sounds like, because those people who bring with them the fear of things, they're the Debbie Downers, the Nancy naysayers, or whatever you want to call them, you know. The people who are just like negative, that is a drain on your energy. There's no two ways around it. So that may be a friend, a family member, but you may need to distance yourself, or not may, but you should start pulling back from that person, because they are literally sucking the energy out of you.
the positive.
And you don't let them do that, because it's not good for your soul. So what do you think?
Yeah, since I didn't say exactly who it was, I would do the same thing. And I would actually like, I've studied psychology, so I would also start playing mind games with them. I wouldn't be able to help myself. I'm that kind of person where I was like, let me just run this experiment really quick. So I'll give them a situation, or I'll feed them information and see their reaction. I've dealt with this in my life. I know I've told this story before. I had somebody that I thought was a really good friend, and one of the things she said to me one time was, I wish that life would just throw you in the dirt and kick you in the face and show you what other people have to deal with. I was like, I don't think we're friends. If you're able to say that to somebody, if you're able to like wish that on me, I don't think that's friendship. So I cut her out of my life. I was like, yeah, you know what? 16 years together and I got to be done, because your energy is just never where it needs to be with me. Probably an energy vampire. I don't know. You knew. Probably just an all-out drainer of things, maybe. But
I mean, what else do you call somebody who always comes with like, you're sharing good news, and they're like, but the what ifs or the fears or the whatever, they're like, you know,
or like that it's a mistake, or it's not going to happen, or there's going to be something wrong. I just bought a new car and I got a great deal. Oh, it's probably a lemon, or some, just shit like that people can try to, what's that? Joy suckers. Is that a thing? Yeah, joy sucker. I feel like that's an old word I used to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it reminds me of something that we took a tarot class this last weekend, and the tarot the leader of the class, she was talking about something. It's like, okay, so if you get these cards, and it's like she's asking about a guy, and you get the knight, and he's looking off in the other direction, and she's like, yeah, I don't think he's into you. And I was like, or else you could say to him, he seems to be focused on something else right now. So we can always find a nice way to say to people, like, let's like disengage. Let's spend some time apart. So I just think, that's, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway,
a nice way to tell people to fuck off. I think that's what she was actually trying to get to.
That is what I was getting at. And that's part of our journey, I feel like, or at least I'm going to speak. This is part of my journey, is to be able to deal with these situations and these people and any situations that come up with human beings, because, some of them aren't very nice, or situations really upset you, but to find a way to say it that is gracious and that is kind, and that maybe even helps them, that opens their eyes to something. So,
and I will point out, you guys, that like just a couple days ago, Kat and I have heart-to-hearts all the time about when we've hurt each other, things that we've said, stuff that happened. She is my mother. Like, I grew up with her. She raised me. And also, she was a guiding light within my life. And sometimes she didn't say the best things for me, and it made me do these other things. And so there's all that around it. So I don't want you guys to think that Kat and I don't experience this with each other. We do. But what we're able to do now at this point is use it in a way that's not weaponized, right? We're not trying to hurt each other. We're like, hey, I really want to admit something to you. And like, maybe we can just talk about it and have a conversation where neither of us are trying to actually hurt one another, but really explain, here's how I felt and what I did in the aftermath of that. And then she will say, here's what I was thinking and feeling at that time in the aftermath of that. So we still do that today. What day did we do that? Like, I think we just did that Tuesday.
Yeah, we just did it because she's like,
I
have to tell you something. I did XYZ out of spite. And I thought to myself, okay, well, it didn't upset me because it's been like 20 years ago. So I'm like,
and I 19.
And I kind of knew anyway. I think we've already had the conversation before, but as we grow,
it comes up again and again.
It comes up again, and it's like this need to
talk about it again.
To talk about it and understand it and sort of like pick it apart. And I realized, and I think this was the first time that I told her, was like, when I look back on that, so she was gonna, she was young, she's just 19 years old. And I wanted to tell her what to do at 19 because I felt like I knew better because I had experienced something similar, and I didn't want her to. And I was trying to stop her from going through the heartache that I felt was certainly in her future if she made this decision. And you know what? She wanted to prove me wrong. And so she went ahead with it. And ultimately, it did turn out that way, unfortunately, for her.
The way that she said it would. It
did. And I realized when she told me this, like, if I had not taken that approach with her, if I had not taken the approach of don't do that, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. She might have figured that out on her own before she made the decision. But because I said, don't do this, blah, 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 and I nagged her about it and I tried to stop her, like actually got on her case and was mad, then that sort of like forced her hand to prove to her mother that she was able to handle the situation. So anyway, that's like a lesson as a parent that you learn later on when you're like, if I'd have just backed off, maybe they wouldn't have done that. And sometimes we don't know, when
you don't know when it's happening.
So, okay. My next question, I think this is the last one,
right?
It's
the last one, yes.
Okay. So this question has to do with tarot card readings. So it's like, who do you think the messages, okay, when you're doing readings, where do the messages come from? Do they come from deities? Do they come from the divine? When you're getting messages, when you're reading cards,
when you're the reader
and you're reading for someone else, where are those messages coming from? That's the question.
My personal belief is that I have a connection to something I call my team of light. I believe that it's like anywhere from 1 to 10 soul guides on the other side that are there to assist me. And what I've learned as a tarot reader is that it's not me giving the message and that I just have to say things, just like don't think about it and say them. And that's when I know that when it's all over with and I logically think through some of the things I say, I'm like, why would you see that? Like, what is wrong with you? I've told the story that I often felt like a liar when I would start reading palms because I'm like, I don't even know why I'm saying this. I have no legitimate proof. And I'm a very kind of scientific, methodical person. So it was weird to go right into that intuition and just be like, let the words flow out of you. Just don't stop talking. Just keep saying all the things that come through your brain. And when you're in that flow, I call it my team of light. I think that it could be any number of sources depending on who you are and what you're truly connected with. If you use a deity all the time, like I've known readers who they have one main deity they've used for 25 years and that's who they attribute all their gifts to. I'm like, that is 100% good with you. As long as you know, that's what really counts is when you decide who it is that you're speaking with. And it could be something as general as like the universe, the source, the divine, the goddess, the god, like entities wherever, aliens, I don't know, your higher self, your past life self, whoever it is. As long as you have confidence in that, the messages that come through you will be just that. They won't be your brain, human today brain thinking. It'll be that other thing that just flows messages through you. And it's important for me to have a name for them so I can understand why it's important for them. But I was going to say, it really is not about you and it's not about them. It's about the person you're reading for, that you guys were brought together at this time to get a message. And that's your responsibility. It's not to overthink it, not wonder where it comes from, not worry about, are you right or wrong? You just need to say the things so that they get the message.
All right. So here's my reaction to that. So of course, because I've got this whole logical side to me, it's like I always try to read between the lines. Like, what are they actually asking? Because they ask the question, where does it come from? But I think so. Of course, I'm like, all right, what's the deeper meaning here? You Scorpio side of me, right?
What's the real question? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And so for me, like, what I pick up from this is like they're they're unsure, right, of their own abilities or their own like intuition. They're like doubting.
Their intuition.
Yeah. So they're doubting. They're asking the question because they're not really sure where it's coming from, and they have doubts about their own gifts, exactly, and their own intuition and trusting their gut. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I have a feeling. I just have a really strong feeling because as a newer reader of tarot, I've been doing tarot for a long time, but I always use the book. So I've never tried to read intuitively. And when you start to do that, you really have to let go of, you have to let go of a lot of things. So, and you have to trust. So you gave a good example. Out of your
ego.
You gave a good example of what tarot reading is. It's like trust. We wrote it down because it's for our class, but it was like
don't remember now.
No, you can't remember, but
it was like
class because September 4th. But it was like trusting what you know and not fearing what you hear, the message that you hear, whether it's in your head or your heart. So I agree with Jamie that when you're reading tarot, that the message is coming from someplace else, and whatever you choose to identify as that someplace else. Me, I always say universe. Jamie says team of light. You might say a particular deity if you're a reader.
But it's like channeling. I mean, in the specifics of it, it's like channeling because it's not you doing the thinking. You are the what are we? The channel?
We're the messenger. So we're bringing that. We're getting the messages.
And I don't remember.
Is that not the messenger?
Conduit.
The conduit.
We're the conduit for the messages. Like when you're on empath, witch journey, spiritual journey, whatever you want to call your journey, when you're on that journey, you are a conduit for things to come from the other side through you, especially when you don't have fears wrapped up in all of that. When you have fears, it stops a lot of stuff. Like fear is a filter. It just, everything. It's like, oh, don't be wrong. Don't do this. Oh, fear. So when we break away from fear, we totally open up that line of receptivity because you just don't question it and you flow with it. That's what flow is, not having that fear.
Trusting. Yeah, it's trusting yourself and trusting your gut and trusting the message that you're receiving and just whatever you see. Yeah.
What comes through in your head, whether you're the person that gets like scene moments where inside your like third eye or inside your brain, wherever you want to see your screen, you see things happening like a movie or like pictures, or sometimes I get words appear in my head that I say, or a scene from what feels like a movie or somebody else's life where I'll like see somebody in a hospital or in a car, or there'll be a garden, or there'll be these things. And then I just learn how to say that. This is totally off topic, but the way that you get better at receiving messages is the more that you practice saying what you see. Your team of light, that's feedback for them to say, when I show her this, she says this word. That's a connect. That's good. Okay. When I showed her this, she said a different word. That's not what we meant. And the more that you practice saying what you think you see or feel through, your mind's eye or your internal screen, however you see it, the more that you practice that, the better your team of light gets at sending through images, pictures, words to get you to say the things that they're hoping you'll say to the person in front of you. That's it. Like that's why we call it a practice. It's not a certification. You can't get qualified in it. There's no test for it. The test is the practice in front of people doing the real thing. That was a lot. Sorry. Just thinking about that.
Okay.
I want that. Okay, yay. See, I'm a talker all the time. It's 7:39. We went over again.
You guys. Sorry. But we are so glad that you were all here with us tonight.
Yes.
Thank you, Selena.
Thank you.
Nanika. Erica. Kay
Hopper.
Denise.
Yes.
We
Thank you
appreciate
guys
all
for
being
joining
here.
us
Thank you
tonight.
for joining us.
And there's 12 other people, but I don't know who's there. But thank you guys for showing up. You know, you improved our night. We hope we improved yours because I feel a lot better after doing this, like I always do. I'm always on like a high after these meetings and interactions. I miss your guys' faces. I miss our live Q&As. I can't wait to start back classes in
Speaking
September.
of, in case you don't know, we're
Can't
starting a tarot
wait.
class on September 4th.
I can't wait.
For 11 weeks, and that's on our. You can find that on our meetup group. So that's the New Witch Academy.
Yes.
No, the New Witches meetup group. That's
New
the
Witches
group.
meeting
So
group, yes.
anyway, we
Can't
hope
wait
to
to get
see
back
you
to
there.
that.
And if tarot's not your thing, then we'll have another class after that. So,
But you can always come for the Q&A part. So
yeah,
live Q&A to ask anything that you want to ask. It does not have to be related to the message. Are we still putting that in our meetups?
I don't know. No, we're not. No, not for tarot because tarot is very specific. So
Okay.
we really are going to be focused
Well,
on
we might do a live then.
tarot. So we might do lives.
I miss you guys. I miss
So,
everybody.
anyway,
I'm ready to get
thank
back
you
to
for
it.
being here. We
All
appreciate
right, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Or, well, actually, we'll see you next week. But we'll see you face to face. I'll see your faces in a couple weeks.
All right, Ellie. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. We are looking forward to it too.
Yay.
We're really excited. We're way deep into
Yes.
it. So
It's
none of your
consuming
business.
Good to
Denise.
hear from you guys. Miss you.
All right, you
All
guys.
right. Have a great weekend.
All right.
We'll see you next Thursday.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.